Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Kim Noltemy. I'm the COO of the Boston Symphony and Boston Pops and the president of B4. This is the 44th year of the founding of this celebration on the Esplanade. We're thrilled to be managing this event for the first time and want to express our gratitude to David Mugar for creating such an amazing legacy and giving the Boston Pops a national showcase on television for all these years. We are pleased that we were able to hire his amazing production team of Pam Picard and Richard McDonald, who are both here over there. Not to mention the fact that so many of the volunteers and workers who've worked at this event over the years are coming back to help us and make this event very successful. We've strived to plan a truly amazing July 4th with a great program, stellar guest artists, second-to-none fireworks, a flyover, and a huge amount of patriotism. This would not be possible without Eaton Vance's commitment as presenting sponsor and our media partner, Bloomberg. This event is a tremendous example of public-private partnership. We're so fortunate to have the support of so many state, local, and federal agencies under the leadership of the Massachusetts State Police. The DCR has been tremendously collaborative. The MBTA is offering complimentary tea service on the evening of July 4th. We have developed an app so that the attendees can get the latest information about the July 4th and 3rd and 4th activities, complete with maps, social media, trivia contests, and the like. For this 44th anniversary year of this event, we look forward to a fantastic 2 days of concerts and festivities. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Environmental Affairs Secretary, Matt Beaton.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. And on behalf of Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito, I'd like to be the first to wish you all a very happy and safe Independence Day. It is a great honor of ours at the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs to coordinate with so many great people, as you see standing behind me here, to pull off what is a tremendous annual event that has become historically known as one of the signature 4th of July events across the country. I would like to give a special thanks to all the great folks at DCR, particularly Commissioner Roy, Deputy Commissioner Nick Gove, and all the staff at DCR. We will have many staff from DCR working overtime during both in the preparation and in the actual time of the event on the 4th. We have increased all of our staffing across to help assist in the production of this event, and we are tremendously confident that with the cooperation of everybody who is coming to attend, that we will once again have a very successful 4th of July celebration. We would like to thank all the folks from B4, the Boston Pops, and all the collaborators that have historically made this event a great success and will once again make it a safe event. I will be the first to encourage everybody to please be safe. If you see something, report something. You will hear it time and again, I'm sure, from the public safety officials. But we are very hopeful that the weather cooperates and that everybody comes out, enjoys themselves in a peaceful manner. And once again, we wish everybody a very happy Independence Day. Thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce someone who needs no introduction, a good friend of the arts and a good friend of the Boston Pops, Mayor Marty Walsh.
Thank you very much, Kim. And I want to thank Secretary Beaton for the great work he's doing, not just this weekend, but in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you, Matt. To Keith Lockhart and the Pops, thank you as well. For the everything you do in our city. I'd too like to thank David Mugar. I thought you retired last year, David. And I love. It's great to see you coming back. Thank you for that, David's made the 4th of July magical for decades, and I'm certainly proud that we're proud to carry on that tradition. And last year was his last show of productions after 43 years, but he is such an important part of this event. Thank you, David, for being with us today as well, and what you've done over the last 4 decades, almost 5. This is the beloved holiday institution right here in Boston. Every year it brings families and friends together. It's a chance for us to celebrate our revolutionary history. This year's fireworks spectacular is shaping up to be one of the best ever. And I truly want to thank the sponsors of this event, because without the sponsors, we wouldn't be able to be here. The conversations would be focused on the wrong things. We expect hundreds of thousands of people to come to the Esplanade to enjoy and celebrate. There's an incredible lineup of performers, and the weather looks beautiful, so we just want to keep knock on wood. I want to thank everyone who made this possible. I want to thank the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, the Boston Pops. I want to thank our federal partners. I want to thank all the public safety officials who you're going to hear from in a little bit, who make sure that we have a safe 3rd and 4th of July. We certainly have. I have tremendous confidence in our safety personnel, and watching them work very closely together last week when the tall ships came in, we had 2 million people come into our city. It was a great thing to watch. So I have no fear of what's going to happen over the next couple of days. I also just want to let people know, and Commissioner Evans will address this in a little bit, that we'll be paying attention to our neighborhoods as well in the city of Boston. And we're asking people to enjoy the fireworks, but when you enjoy the fireworks here at the Esplanade. Enjoy the fireworks over the Boston Harbor. Be careful in your neighborhoods, because we've had some accidents over the last couple of years where people have blown off fireworks and blown their fingers off and hands off, and in some cases we've had some very tragic endings around the country. So we want people to understand that it's important that they be very careful. The city's emergency operations center will be activated, monitoring this event and coordinating resources as well as other things in the neighborhood. Again, I just can't stress this enough, and I hope that the press that's here today can stress this as well. When it comes to fireworks, leave it to the professionals at the Esplanade. We have had a lot of calls in the city over the last few nights of fireworks picking up in the city of Boston. It's illegal to set off fireworks in the neighborhood, but it's also dangerous. As you saw over this week, we had the fire on Dorchester Avenue. We have a lot of housing stock in the community. These fireworks are flammable, and we have Commissioner Finn here who will probably talk about that as well. So we're asking you to be very careful. We're asking people, if they drink, be safe and don't drive. Take other ways of transportation. Take public transportation wherever you can. This is one of the most beloved traditions in our city. So let's play our part and keep it this way. And as Secretary Beaton said, if you see something out of the ordinary, grab one of the public safety officials. Call 911. We'd rather be safe than sorry. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to wish everyone a happy 4th.
Next, I'd like to call to the podium our beloved Boston Pops conductor of 23 years, though he certainly doesn't look it. Keith Lockhart is going to tell us a little bit about the programs.
Thank you, Kim. It's hard to believe that I've done this 23 straight years, but I have to say, of all the things in my life, this is one of the things that does not grow old. What an amazing tradition to be part of. I've been honored to be part of it ever since I stepped out there as a scared kid in 1995, and the feeling continues to today. I think we've worked very hard to create a program that does what we wanted to do, and that is appeals to everybody in the broadest demographic that ever watches an orchestra concert on any particular day. We are joined, the Boston Pops and myself, by one of the stars, the Tony Award-winning star of the smash hit musical Hamilton, Leslie Odom Jr., singing some music from that show as well as from his Broadway debut in Rent. We are joined by multi-platinum recording artist Andy Grammer. We're joined by rock icon Melissa Etheridge. To help the Boston Pops in some of the more patriotic moments, we are joined by the Soldiers Chorus and the U.S. Army Field Band. At the center of all this, as it should be, remains the Boston Pops, which will be highlighted in a way I think that will make everybody proud to have America's orchestra call Boston its home. I'm so excited about the entirety of this concert from 8 to 11. We are going broadcast with our new media sponsors, Bloomberg. We will be on TV across Massachusetts, across this country, and around the world on Bloomberg TV. We'll be live on Bloomberg Radio, and we'll also be streamed on Bloomberg.com. So if you want to find us, and that's a little change from previous years, that's where you should look. I'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, Eaton Vance, for coming to the plate to assure the continuation of this amazing civic event. There really are very few events like this in this country or this world. It's an incredible collaboration by so many people working to ensure a safe environment, working to ensure a great concert, and it's the world's best and certainly this country's best 4th of July party. My thanks as also go out to my friend David Mugar, who's over there on the other side of the microphone for the first time in many, many years. David and his partner, Arthur Fiedler, whose name is on that footbridge over here, had an amazing idea 44 years ago, and we look forward to carrying this tradition on for years and years to come. A special shout out to someone who doesn't allow many shout outs. That's to Kim Noltemy, the COO of the Boston Symphony and the Boston Pops, who has spearheaded what has amounted to being the taking over of a very, very complicated event from David's organization. I look forward to seeing all of you out here on the 4th of July. This is the best place to see the concert, and if you can't see it with us, join us on Bloomberg. Thank you, Bloomberg. Thank you, Eaton Vance, and thanks to all of you.
And so you've heard a lot about our sponsors, so we'd like to give them the opportunities to say a few words. I'd like to introduce the CEO and president of Eaton Vance, Tom Faust, who is also a trustee of the Boston Symphony.
Every year on July 4th, Americans gather to celebrate our nation's founding values of liberty and justice for all. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom from fear, freedom from want, free markets and boundless opportunity. At Eaton Vance, our investment managers work to help clients achieve financial freedom, to live the life they dream. Eaton Vance is delighted to be the presenting sponsor of Boston's annual celebration of America's birthday. In the yearly calendar of Boston civic events, no event stands out like the Boston Pops Fireworks Spectacular. Since its beginnings in the 1920s with Arthur Fiedler, and so ably overseen by David Mugar over the past 43 years, this is truly one of the special events in Boston's annual calendar. As a leader of a company that traces its history back to our founding in Boston in 1924, I can think of no better way for us to honor America and contribute to our community than by ensuring that this glorious Boston institution carries forward in the years ahead. Eaton Vance's sponsorship of the Boston Pops Fireworks Spectacular is our way of saying thank you to our hometown friends and neighbors and to the great nation that has shepherded the company's success over the past 93 years. Thank you.
As has been previously mentioned, Bloomberg has generously become our media partner to broadcast the performance on radio, online, and on television. And today, from Bloomberg, is Al Mayers, head of radio and television, global head of radio and television for Bloomberg, and we'd love to hear from Al. Thank you.
This is a huge thrill for me. I'm back. I lived in New Jersey for 16 years working for Mike. I first came to this concert in the early 70s, probably the second or third, and I sat just over there. So for the 20 other concerts I've been, it leaves such a lasting impression, and it's been a real joy to help put this together, to talk to Mike and ask for the support of it. For those of you that don't know, this concert will be broadcast on Bloomberg radio stations in New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and of course, our Boston stations. It'll be heard nationally on Sirius XM channel 119. You can watch it on Bloomberg television, and I'll give you the channels here because these are important. DirecTV channel 353, Dish channel 203, excuse me, Verizon 104, and Comcast channels 45, 757, and 844. Please check your local listings. And digitally on the device of your choice via Bloomberg.com. Now, many people have been asking why Bloomberg. Several reasons. The first one I mentioned already, Mike. Mike grew up 7 miles away from where we're standing right now. We have a large concentration of customers here in the greater Boston area, but really the biggest reason for doing this is Mike really loves beautiful things. He thinks it stimulates creative thinking and conversation. And when people talk, things happen. Our team's had a great time working with Keith and coming up with a great show. So I'm sure you'll all be excited and very pleased at 11 o'clock on July 4th. So thank you very much for allowing Bloomberg to come in and help and make this a much bigger nationally known presentation. Thank you.
And now I'd like to turn it over to Patrick McMurray, the Undersecretary for Public Safety for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you to the BSO for bringing this great event. Mr. Mugar, I've heard for the past 2 years that I've been in this position how well thought of you at the first responders, and they appreciate everything that you've done for us. Thank you, sir. Obviously, you're here to listen to the speakers about security for the 4th, but I'd be remiss if I did not talk about 2 major events that just occurred here in the Commonwealth, in the Boston area. Obviously, it's the Boston Marathon that not only included Boston, 7 other cities and towns, but Sail Boston that the mayor mentioned. And it brings the first responders in. We work together, and I can assure you for the past year, working on these 3 major events, and I refer to them as major events, nowhere in 2017 is there 3 events like this within a 3-month time period. Again, it has made us stronger, and the reason why I mention this is to stress the partnerships and to tell the public that nowhere better, we are prepared. And again, it's because of these events, it brings us together. Every year we've been working on the Boston Marathon and the July 4th, throw in this Sail Boston, 6 months of preparation, and I'm telling you, I've lived in various places, dealt with many police departments, and I'm going to mention numerous people, if you just bear with me. I'll make it very quick. But there's 2 departments that I'm proud to say that I've worked with. And that's the Mass State Police, led by Colonel Richard McEwen, and the Boston Police Department, led by Commissioner Bill Evans and Deputy Gross. I mentioned those 2, but there's so many other partners. And I'm proud to say this, that the cooperation is unbelievable. So people to thank quickly. Again, back to the Boston Marathon, all the police, fire, and EMS at Hopkinton, Ashland, Framingham, Natick, Wellesley, Newton, Brookline, and of course Boston. In the background, I asked people to come to show the federal support. I have various people I'd like to mention. The Undersecretary of Law Enforcement, Jen Quealy, Assistant Undersecretary Hans Olson, Major Frank McGinn from the State Police, who did a lot of work for Sail Boston. Boston Police Department Superintendent Bill Ridge and Captain Pat Crossan did an unbelievable job. Great partners. Massport Director Joe Lawless, outstanding job. He was there 24/7. And Joe, I appreciate all your assistance. Boston Fire Commissioner Joe Finn is a great partner in his team. Boston EMS Chief Jim Hooley and his team. And I'd like to point this out, that the governor's office and the mayor's office was totally engaged throughout the whole thing, and we appreciate their support and guidance. Boston Emergency Management, Renee Fielding, the director, outstanding job. Excellent cooperation. The MEMA director, Kurt Schwartz, and his agency. The FBI, Hank Shaw, the agent in charge in his field office. Matt Etrie, he's with DHS, he's the SAC. He's also the federal coordinator for July 4th. The Fusion Center, Chris Mason, At the Brick, the director Dave Carabin and Paul Fitzgerald. The Fire Marshal Peter Ostrowski. FEMA Nick Russo. The MBTA Police Chief Ken Green. The Secret Service. The U.S. Coast Guard Captain Claudia Gelzer, great partner. The National Guard led by General Gary Keefe and Colonel Margaret White. We have the U.S. Marshal John Gibbons. ATF Special Agent in Charge Mickey Leadingham. DEA James Asak Conley, the U.S. Attorney's Office, U.S. Postal, the Sergeant Rial, and then the law enforcement Lex, the councils, hazmat teams, K9, FAA, Mass Department of Transportation, City of Boston Transportation, NWRA, DCR, and Public Health, and the many communication agencies. I had to fit that in. In 3 months, there's been a lot of work. We're proud of the first responders, and that was just to name a few. I know I missed some. And now to get to the July 4th preparation, and I'll call up the presenters, but I want to mention the important work that Cambridge PD, Fire and EMS does as well in this. So the first speaker is the Mass State Police Colonel, Richard McEwen.
Well, thank you very much, Secretary, and good afternoon. As in past years, and you can see by all the law enforcement talent and experience gathered here today, we will deploy a multi-layered, multi-agency security plan to maximize the public's safety. Our plan includes uniform, investigative, tactical, and intelligence components. As always, some security assets and personnel will be visible to members of the public. Like uniformed troopers and officers on bicycle patrols, while many others will not be visible. Our tactical capabilities will include K9 teams and technicians trained in clearing unattended packages, and marine assets on the river to assist boaters. And of course, our State Police Air Wing will provide continuous overflight support and valuable eyes in the sky. We also will deploy many plainclothes troopers and police officers who will blend into the crowd and who are specially trained in detecting behaviors and characteristics associated with suspicious and potentially threatening actors. Behind the scenes, we have a robust intelligence operation monitoring any and all types of information that may have any effect on the event. One component that is new this year is a tethered drone provided to us through a generous assistance of a private company. That will provide us additional fixed aerial view of the venue. On that same topic, please note that privately owned drones are prohibited over the venue. I urge concertgoers to visit our State Police Facebook page for important information about the event, including the list of items you can and cannot bring with you. Our MSP text-to-tip number, venue entry times, and road closures. And after you check all that out, all it's left to do is just come out, be respectful of others, have a great time, and be assured that many, many professionals have worked very hard to make this a safe event. I hope you have an enjoyable and memorable 4th of July. Thank you.
The next speaker, I'd like to call up Commissioner Bill Evans.
Thanks, Pat. And again, thanks to all our law enforcement partners. We work very well together, as Pat said. And, we've done this for many years. First of all, obviously, I want to say, and I'm sure Hank will, is, there's no intelligence out there to indicate that there's any threat to this event. I think it's key that people feel safe coming into the city, especially starting today throughout the weekend. As well as the 4th, we got Harbor Fest, we have parades. There's a lot of events that Mayor Walsh has going on around the city, so we encourage everyone to come in over the next couple of days. July 4th, again, like the Colonel says, we'll be out there. We'll be along Beacon Street, all the feeder streets into the Esplanade, both undercover in uniform, watching as people approach the Esplanade. The Mayor stressed on the fireworks. you know, again, it's been a problem in years past. Over the last week, it's been a problem. So if we can spread the word that they are illegal, and I hate to say it, some of the fireworks in the neighborhoods are a little more elaborate than these fireworks here. And so we need to stop that because, as the mayor said, Commissioner Joe Finn worries about the fires. We worry about people getting hurt. I remember 2 years ago we had a young child blow off all his fingers. So, you know, that's a concern. And obviously, before I close and turn it over, you know, we'll have plenty of resources down here, but we'll probably have more resources in the neighborhoods. July 4th is probably one of our most troublesome neighborhood weekends as far as violence goes. So as much as we'll be focusing here, you know, we're going to have as many in the neighborhoods, and so, you know, July 4th is always challenging for us, not only here to make sure this is a safe event, but, you know, the neighborhoods is a bigger concern to me. I think we got a great plan here. We have great partners. People shouldn't be afraid. I'm more concerned what happens in the neighborhoods, and, you know, let's all pray we have a safe, joyful, great, you know, July 4th celebration. So thank you all for coming.
I couldn't agree any more with what the Colonel and Commissioner stated. It's a fine line. We can't put a bubble over any of these events. It goes without saying. But we have all the assets in place. I walked around every day during Sale Boston as if I was the public, you know, just walking around, and you would see the presence, which you want to see if I was the public, but it's not overwhelming. People are able to go where they expect checkpoints at certain places, but it's just well done, and I totally agree. I'm here to represent Secretary Dan Bennett with Public Safety, and he wanted me to express thanks to all the first responders. The next speaker is the Federal Coordinator, Matt Etrie.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Undersecretary Murray. Appreciate that. I'm Special Agent in Charge, Matt Etrie, for Homeland Security Investigations here in Boston. I have the pleasure to be designated again as the Federal Coordinator for this special event by the Secretary of Homeland Security. As the Federal Coordinator, I'm responsible for ensuring that federal assets are available for integration with the Massachusetts State Police Security Plan. We're proud to be working with the State Police and our dedicated partners with the common goal of providing a safe and secure place for those attending and participating in the events here on the Esplanade on the 3rd and 4th of July. We're fully committed, as you can see, with over 13 federal agencies here behind me, providing security, intelligence, and law enforcement resources in furtherance of this goal. I'm honored to serve in this role, and I look forward to working with our partners in making this a fun and safe event for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. The next speaker is the Special Agent in Charge of the FBI, Hank Shaw.
Good afternoon. As I promised to Billy Evans, I'm not here to scare anybody. But I'm happy to say, you know, just jumping off of what Undersecretary McMurray said, we're on the final stretch of a series of 3 large-scale special events that have been held in the Commonwealth, which began with the Marathon, Sale Boston, and now the 4th of July Boston Pop celebration. Over the last few months, you've seen us work as one team across all levels of government with the sole focus of providing safe and secure venues for the public. As we know, no one organization has the tools, skills, or resources to address any of these events on their own. And I commend the great work of my law enforcement and emergency management partners for their continued commitment and great work. I'd also like to recognize Colonel Rick McEwen and the Massachusetts State Police and Commissioner Billy Evans and the Boston Police Department for their exceptional leadership and commitment to addressing these special events. It's been a big lift on their respective departments, and both of these leaders continue to be fully devoted to making these events fun and enjoyable while balancing the needs for public safety in an ever-changing and dynamic threat environment. As we approach the 4th of July holiday weekend, we maintain the same level of concern about threats to the homeland. The current threat level is unchanged, and we're doing all that we can to ensure it stays that way. The FBI is not aware of any specific threats or concerns relating to the Boston Pops Fireworks Spectacular or other festivities celebrating the birth of our country. However, we must remain vigilant and mindful of the significance of this holiday. This event is seen as one of the most prominent Independence Day celebrations in our nation. And Boston, home to many patriotic and historic landmarks, will continue to be a symbolic target. I can tell you, the FBI is actively assessing any and all available intelligence, and we will continue to work closely with our law enforcement partners should any potential threats to public safety arise. Over the course of the past few months, our JTTFs across the country have conducted several successful disruptions, which further emphasizes the continued interest terrorists have in attacking the homeland. Considerable planning has been conducted by all agencies represented here today, with our primary objective of achieving a safe event for all attendees. We spent a lot of time together over the past few months, and I think it's fair to say we are fully integrated and have become pretty good at adjusting our plans based on lessons learned from international and domestic attacks. We look forward to a great event on the Esplanade and elsewhere across the Commonwealth. We continue to ask members of the public to maintain awareness of their surroundings and report any suspicious activity to law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Hank. We did not prepare remarks, and I think the common theme here is partnerships, and as well as many things, but the two departments here are the backbone of this area, the Commonwealth in the Boston area, are the Mass State Police and the Boston Police Department. And again, I'm proud to be partnered with them, as well as all the federal agencies and state and local that are here. Now I'd like to call on MBTA Police Chief Ken Green.
Thank you, Mr. McMurray. The 4th of July celebration is a family-oriented event, so we encourage families to utilize the MBTA, come out to the city of Boston, and enjoy the festivities. We will have additional transit police officers, both uniformed and in plain clothes, throughout the system to ensure safe and efficient travel by everyone. We ask our riders to act responsibly and to be respectful to one another, and be especially mindful of people with young children, the elderly, and people with disabilities as you ride the MBTA. The consumption of alcohol and or unruly behavior will not be tolerated. As I said, we will have extra patrols out on the system to ensure that that doesn't happen. As my colleagues before me stated, there are no known credible threats to this event or to the MBTA. And just know that the transit police are ready to respond to any incidents that may occur. If you see something, say something. You can talk to a transit officer, transportation official, or any public safety official for that matter, and we will come down and investigate. So just remember, together we can make this a safe and successful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We're almost done. We have two more quick speakers, and then we'll take questions at the end. I'd like to bring up the Boston EMS Chief, Jim Hooley.
Thank you, Mr. Undersecretary. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. And on behalf of all the men and women at Boston EMS, I just want to wish everybody a happy, healthy, and safe Independence Day. And to ensure that down at this site, I just want to make sure the public knows that we're going to have plenty of medical support down here. We're going to have several medical stations, mostly staffed by EMTs and paramedics, but we'll also have some physicians down here as well. So some minor complaints, hopefully we can just turn around and get you back to your viewing pleasure for the day. If there's anything that's more serious, we'll have the ability to treat it, and we'll have additional ambulances down along here as well so that we can transport you out to a hospital. We're going to have EMTs and paramedics down here on bicycles, on the John Deere Gators, and as well as some folks on the river with the Mass State Police. And then we're going to have our counterparts from Cambridge on the other side of the river. So this is going to be a very well-covered event. Usually an event like this, our biggest worry is excessive heat or sun. Sounds like the weather is favorable for us. You know, we're not in the 90s, so that's good. However, there's a few things that the public can do to protect themselves and minimize their chance of having to go to an emergency room. One is to make sure you hydrate, that you don't underestimate being out in the sun all day. To take advantage of the shade, there's plenty of it down here. If you are out in the open, have a hat or something else to shade yourself. Next, sunscreen. Nothing's worse than the next day having a terrible sunburn. So those are the kind of things that you can do for yourself. If you're down here with either small kids, take that into consideration as well. And if anyone's coming down who's got some medical conditions underlying, and if if you're not feeling that good that day, then maybe this is one year, then you do stay home and watch it on Bloomberg. But otherwise, just make sure you have your prescription meds with you, because it takes a little while to get in and out. And then my last point on that is, the last precaution people should take is relax. Take an easy pace when you come down. It's a holiday in the summer, and we all should be taking our time. So it's going to take a little while to get in and a little bit while to get out. Make sure you get something comfortable on your feet, because you might have to do a little bit of walking that day. Many of the complaints that we see at a lot of the tents are for minor things like blisters and foot things. So if you keep all that in mind, the folks from EMS will just be happy to wave when you come in and you leave. So have a great day.
Thank you, Chief. We're going to call up the MEMA Director, Kurt Schwartz, just to give the weather, and then we'll take questions right after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. In some prior years, our conversation about the weather around this event has been long and complicated. The good news is, at this point, it looks like our conversation about weather on the 3rd and 4th is short and easy. We enjoy the great support of the National Weather Service, and they partner with us throughout this event. And as of just a few minutes ago, the forecast for the 3rd and 4th looks to be really good. We're going to have warm days, but not excessively hot, so we'll see temperatures perhaps up into the 80s. The humidity should be low, which is good. I think on both days, particularly in the afternoons, we should enjoy a breeze along the Esplanade, and the chance of rain or a thunderstorm is really very low. Particularly low on the 4th. So at this point, again, it looks like we'll have 2 great days. The National Weather Service will be on site in the Unified Command Center throughout the event. And I want to just close by praising both B4 Productions and the State Police for having developed really strong, comprehensive weather contingency plans, so that there are plans in place to deal with weather, but right now it looks like we will not be exercising those plans. So, thank you.
Okay, that concludes the speakers, and we can take any questions. The Commissioner?
Ms. Watts?
I know during the marathon, when we were talking about what you were concerned about and what was happening out there, people driving cars and the crowds, has that changed from now, and what is the main security concern?
Well, I think that plan will still be in effect on all the feeder streets in towards the Esplanade, so we will do that along with the state police. So if there's any capability of driving into large crowds, we'll have large trucks and machinery there. Just be aware there's going to be parking restrictions all along Beacon Street and all the feeder streets into the Esplanade, and that way we will have roadblocks to prevent people from driving into the crowd. So it's the same game plan. Nothing new. Unfortunately, like I said before, that's been a new tactic of ISIS, and unfortunately that's something that we have to do to make it a safe event. But again, a lot of parking restrictions, like Chief Green said, the more people who can make it by the T, the easier our job is. And so look at the websites as far as parking restrictions, but you will see large trucks blocking access towards the Esplanade.
From a security standpoint, what the most common mistake is for the average goer that makes the job harder?
Well, I think in the Colonel can probably talk to it too. If you come down here with backpacks, large heavy backpacks, and loaded up with bottles and whatnot, it's going to take some time it will slow down the checkpoints that you have to go through. You know, if you come down here with coolers, and that's why the colonel has asked you to go online and check at items, large items that will cause some alarm. So the less you can bring, the better off. The quicker the lines will move, and the quicker people will get on here to see the great show that the pops and the fireworks. So the littlest you can bring, and the weather looks great. You know, don't bring the large backpacks, don't bring the coolers and stuff like that. That's what slows down and makes our job more difficult. Well, it's difficult because we have shop spotter technology, which helps us in the neighborhoods, and between the fireworks and sometimes the shop, it's hard to distinguish. And over the last week, we've been dealing with that. But I also get a lot of complaints from the neighbors over the last week at different community meetings. They're constantly on my case about doing something about the fireworks. And you know, I think where it's so readily accessible, if you just drive over the border, it's a hard one for us to combat. All we ask is people realize that they are illegal, and young kids can get hurt. So, you know, we ask for them to voluntarily actually help us. We don't have the manpower and people power to be going around enforcing all the fireworks out there. All we ask is people comply, and so we have a safe and a great July 4th.
Question for Keith. Keith, it sounds like you've got a fabulous past. Is it true, the rumor I'm hearing, that you're going to have a great body to join you next day?
Well, thank you, Ron. I was so excited about the show that I forgot to tell you the one bit of truly new news about the show, and that is that we are pleased to announce that Academy, Tony, and Grammy Award-winning composer Alan Menken, the composer of such classics as Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid, has agreed to write a new song specifically in celebration of our 44th trip here to the Esplanade. It is called The Sum of Us. It is a new patriotic song for soloist, chorus, and orchestra, and our soloist will be Broadway legend, multiple Tony Award winner Brian Stokes Mitchell. It's a beautiful song. I've seen it and we've begun to work on it, and I will tell you that it's a patriotic song that I think is particularly appropriate these days because it talks about our strength over the years as being one of inclusion as opposed to exclusion. So I really look forward to giving the nation the first taste of a premier song by a master craftsman on Tuesday. Thanks for asking, Ron.
This event is probably the most beloved event of all three. You know, the marathon and more symbolic. Does that increase your efforts and stuff like that because it is such a symbolic event?
Well, I think our efforts are in place. We have a great plan, as you've heard from the other law enforcement leaders. The one thing on these events is we don't want to let our guard down. Because we have a great plan in place, doesn't influence our vigilance on what could happen. So we try to re-emphasize that all the time, coupled with some of the recent events across the world that we take into consideration and how our citizens can be harmed here. So we're aware of those things, and we take precautions to try to address them.
Yeah, and I agree with what the Colonel said, as well as, you know, Commissioner Evans just touched on it. You're looking at, we have got a great security plan for the venue itself. We considered it hardened. But when you're looking at, you know, the vulnerabilities outside, you know, of the event itself, and we saw, most recently from one of the international attacks is specifically in Manchester, is, you know, leaving a venue, you know, and what are those vulnerabilities? You know, the harsh reality is we do the best we can to harden and protect everything that we can around the greater city, around the venue. But, you know, there's only so many resources that in turn we can throw at it. So we're doing the best we can to be able to look at any potential vulnerability and be able to plug those holes, you know, as smartly as we can.
Is there any particular bad guys constantly? Is there any particular tactics that right now keep you up at night? Maybe especially talking about maybe the vehicles on the
Well, I think that's always a consideration, and we take precautions for that. That, along with information that we do get from the FBI, as well as from Undersecretary McMurray, the Undersecretary for Homeland Security. He provides us with updates and information that contribute to our strategies to prevent, hopefully prevent any kind of issues here at this beautiful venue. So, thanks, Bill. Well, we don't have a tethered drone at this time, and it's just a feature that we can add, and we evaluate how that contributes to our overall plan here. I couldn't speak to that, but possibly Major Ball. Do you have any idea?
Well, it's difficult to estimate the crowd size. I mean, we do just like the news does. We look at the aerial photographs and we estimate. But I think a number anywhere from 300,000 plus is accurate. Thank you. Sorry. Major Rick Ball, Colonel, has designated me as the incident commander for this event.
Any more questions? Well, thank you very much.